General Motors has found a clever way to deal with lack of chips. The global chip shortage may be here to stay in the long term, with some experts estimating it would continue well into 2023. But on the other hand, car makers out there are always looking into ways to speed up the recovery and reduce their impact on operations. I don't know that this is a clever way. It's to me, it's something that they probably should have already had at this point. So while most of the while most of them turn to temporary shutdowns, even if their best selling models, others are replanning their supply chains in a way that makes even more sense given the current crisis. And General Motors is one of them, as the American giant plans to no longer rely on suppliers for the acquisition of chips but reach out directly to manufacturers in this regard. In other words, GM hopes that by eliminating suppliers, it would establish a direct relationship with chip makers to allow the company to get its hands on semiconductors much faster, therefore reducing any potential disruption that could eventually affect its production. CEO Mary Barra admitted the global chip shortage wouldn't just go away overnight, but at the end of the day, it's all that she described as a solvable problem. Oh man. Okay. Chip shortage, not a new thing. The chip shortage, really, if you've been paying attention, goes back to the middle of 2020, really even before that, when everybody started to ramp down their production and ordered less. So the chip shortage is somewhat of there's some parts of it is an ordering issue that stem from, oh no, it's 2020, March 2020, pandemic's happening, we're just gonna kill it because we don't want to get stuck with all these extra chips. I think only like one or two companies foresaw that, hey, guess what? People are still gonna buy iPhones, people are still gonna buy computers, other cell phones, cameras, cars, blah, 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 blah. We're not all gonna just live like hermits under a rock in our house. So to me, I don't want to say it's too little too late, but it's kind of mind blowing that a company as big as GM is making the decision now at the end of 2021, 18 months into the pandemic. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna come up with a clever way. We're going to go direct and buy our chips direct instead of going through manufacture, or a third party, which you make cars. Cars have had chips in them since the, I don't know, 70s, 80s, definitely the 80s, but maybe 70s. How? How was it, and it took this long to realize, we can't ship these cars. They're all sitting on the side. We have all these completed, quote unquote, completed cars sitting on the sideline waiting to be sold, but they can't be sold because we're missing the critical pieces to the car. And it took 18 months to come to the realization that maybe we need to do something different. Meanwhile, Tesla is outperforming their estimates through the supply chain. Why? Because they get their stuff direct. To sit back and say, well, who could have thought? How could this have happened? Blah blah blah. Like, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible to me that GM could wait this long. So let me get, the article goes on to say, furthermore, GM produced and sold some models without start-stop systems. This time in an attempt to reduce the number of chips that would be required for each vehicle. So when it says start-stop systems, what does that mean? Is that we're talking about like push to start, sell pickups, SUVs without start-stop, as thousands of cars wait for chips? But what do they mean by start-stop? Full size upgrades, tens of thousands of incomplete pickups. So we're talking about push to start. Is that the impacted models will no longer come with automatic start-stop, include only 2021 models. Or is this like moving auto start stop could generate a slightly bigger fuel consumption? Oh, the start stop. Okay, so you're driving, you're driving, and then you come up to a stoplight and you hit the brakes, and then you come to a full stop, and then the engine shuts off. So that's a chip. They're saying, oh, you know what? We're not gonna ship with that because we just can't get that chip. That's okay. That's what that's talking about. This time, in an attempt to reduce the number of chips that would be required for each vehicle, a forecast released by market research firm IDC estimates the global chip shortage would be resolved next year, emphasizing there's a risk of oversupply in 2023. In other words, foundries across the world might invest so much in increasing their production that they would eventually end up with building more chips than the industry needs, therefore creating a gigantic inventory without enough customers to help maintain the same pace of chip manufacturing, which means that the price could, for certain devices and things, could come down as they try to sell off and make sure that people get, they're not sitting on this inventory, paying taxes on this inventory, et cetera, et cetera. So that's not necessarily a bad thing from a consumer standpoint, but the chip shortage. There's a couple pieces to it where it's not just about the fact that they ramped down their ordering, so they made less wafers and didn't produce as much from those foundry or from those factories. The other end of it was that there was actually an actual silicon shortage of sand, because that's what silicon's made out of, and that I haven't heard much about that. In fact, maybe I should, for tomorrow's Entrepreneurs, I should look up where we are with that, with the actual sand issue that we're running into, which I can't, I find it so hard to believe that was a thing and or still a thing. But we will see, and I will keep you up to date with that going forward here on the Entrepreneurs.